Honey,
What's up, Jimmy?
what's up, Garden fam?
Yeah,
It's been a while. I feel like
the Garden fam.
the schedule has been so screwy.
Yeah,
If you miss one game, like you're not on the show for like 10 days. I feel like that's what happened to me.
yeah.
Anyways, I'm back.
Is that what happened to you?
That's what happened to me. I was on the Tuesday show, and then they lost, so they didn't play until Friday, and I wasn't on the show.
I missed that one. Yeah, I
So
missed
here
the
I
Tuesday
am.
show.
Here I am, like a week later.
And here we are.
Now it's like 4 games this week, so now people are going to be sick of me. So.
Unreal. The Thursday, Friday really threw me for a loop.
Tuesday, Thursday is unheard of for the
Tuesday,
Celtics.
Thursday, Friday.
And then Sunday. You won't see me Sunday. I'm just going to put that out there. You won't see me Sunday. I have a massive Christmas party that I'm planning. You're invited, John, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So wait, is the planning on Sunday or the party on Sunday? Because this
party's
is late
on
notice.
Sunday.
Oh, okay.
Well, no, the invites are going out this week, but I've been thinking of it's Sunday. I didn't want to send the invites out too soon. I'm gonna get too many people.
Got it. All right. Well, wait for the room to fill up a little bit. Celtics.
Look at this.
Yeah.
Comment. Wow, surprised Jimmy's in this pod. I thought he's Tangway's new partner now. Funny you should say that. Me and Tangway just filmed again last night. Another podcast will be hitting the airwaves soon.
Yep.
But no, I'm not off the Garden Report. Sorry.
One might say Tangway is making a play for Jimmy.
People are starting to say that. Well, hey, I mean, you guys tell me, but I will say that I think we had a pretty good report going on, me and Tangway.
Yeah.
The legend himself, Gary Tangway. You know what? And I didn't have the heart to tell him that we use him as a prop on our show. I meant to, but then I didn't. And I was like, it's probably for the best. He just probably doesn't want to.
We've been using Gary as a prop for friggin' decades.
That's true. He's so used
to it. To NBC.
Yeah, he's so used to it.
So yes,
Yeah.
So anyway, this game could have gone the other way, and it didn't. So hats off to the Celtics. Josue hosted Stephen A. Who am I getting on the guard? Someone wants to know here.
It's a great question. We've
Jimmy
talked about
partner with Tangway. Josue hosted Stephen A. Who am I getting on the Garden Report? I don't know. I don't think anybody likes me.
It's really astute observation on your end.
We'd
We'd have to do it with like Bobby or something too, because Bobby might be able to get somebody to join him. People still like Bobby, I think, don't they?
People like Bobby.
Yeah,
for sure. I think Bobby is the guy who's going to bring stuff on in the Garden Report. I'm just here to kind of
don't get fined.
I'm just here to keep just to not get fined, just to keep steering the ship and make sure that these guys.
You don't know where it's going, but he's steering it.
I want to make sure these guys don't crash in any icebergs. Like other than that, I don't serve much purpose here. But anyway, yeah, good one here. Actually, fun week at CLNS with the Stephen A. jumping in there, and
that was awesome.
Doing
Can we play the Stephen A. clip later on the show, Amit? Can you pull up the Stephen A. clip about him talking about Zion? I just want to play that for everybody.
Fine.
But anyways.
Amit, while you're building my Christmas graphics, see if you can grab me
We'll do a segment on that at the end of the show.
Yeah.
Because that is too funny not to.
I saw a belly.
I got people in New Orleans telling me.
Like it was like it's like a forbidden thing. You know what I saw? I saw a belly.
And they told me he eats the table.
He doesn't just
eats the table.
Everywhere he went, said the same thing over and over again. But anyway,
every chef is waiting for him to come in the door.
Yeah, it is. He is. Look, we said this about Zion early. He was listed at 280. I thought he was closer tipping at 300. I think he's got to be. Yeah. He's got to be 250 max to be effective here, and he'll still be a force.
He's going to drop 50 pounds, man.
50. He's closer to probably. He's closer to probably like 325. Truth be told, someone his height and whatever. I mean, he's way over 3. So he's got to drop about
that
70.
Belly.
I saw a belly.
He eats the table. The table. It's too good. We got to talk about that later. But anyway,
we'll talk about that later.
Celtics did play tonight. 5 minutes.
Good game. They came out sleepwalking. And Joe, I like Angry Joe calling angry timeouts. And then out of his first angry timeout, they come out and they turn it over. And Joe's like, these fucking guys. You know, I like seeing
such a sloppy start.
I love seeing Joe shaking his head at that kind of stuff, you know, rather than like, you know.
Yeah, just like blindly defending the team and
rather than we got good looks, you know, like I don't want to hear that. You know, I love when he's angry, and I loved Angry Joe. To start this game here, things didn't get moving, though Jaylen was the only guy who did anything in that first unit. Porzingis was brutal. The game kind of tipped thanks to the bench. Tatum and the bench guys is what kind of turned things back into a competitive game there. That Hauser, Pritchard, and yes, even Cornette with some minutes there.
And that was talking Luke.
You know what, though? When Bobby comes on here, I'll see him one Luke Cornette, and I will raise him one Tristan Thompson, who actually was like effective. And
I can't believe that.
I know.
I cannot believe. Wait, first of all, Tristan Thompson was effective?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that.
I thought he came in there and he crashed and he did well. Anyway, I like the Joe
minus 11 in freaking 11 minutes. He's stunk.
All right, fine.
Tristan Thompson is
fine. I'll say this about Tristan Thompson: he looked like he was in better shape than he did during his time here, and he did get a couple good offensive rebounds. The reason he was minus 11 is because Celtics bench unit was crushing. So we'll bring.
You're talking about here. Chloe's boyfriend.
Yes. What's up, Sherrod?
That's what I thought.
Don't bring the Kardashians into this stuff, Jimmy.
That's who he is to me.
Stop.
Chloe's boyfriend.
Just stop.
That's it.
Just walk away, Jimmy. What's up, Jimmy?
Good to see you,
my friend.
Yeah.
Sherrod, we kind of don't have like a clean takeaway off of this game yet. For developing opinions, other than they weathered the storm, Cleveland shot really, really well early. Donovan Mitchell and Garland went on, individual heaters from time to time and hit some really tough shots as well. They kind of just hung in there. We're talking about how the Celtics bench unit, I don't know if it won them the game, but it gave them what they needed when they needed it. Certainly, like they got back into it with that bench unit in the second. You look at, you're looking at plus minuses up and down the board. The bench positive minutes on that Hauser, Horford, Pritchard combination, playing with Tatum and a guard in that second quarter. It was, Holiday for a little bit there. It was pretty good. So that's kind of where I started there. I thought those guys kind of turned the game there in that second quarter.
Well, they needed to. I mean, the first unit looked really bad to start the game. They looked as if they thought they could simply walk out on the floor and Cleveland would just bow down and they wouldn't have to work to win this game. And next thing you know, they're down by 15 in the first quarter. And Cleveland, I didn't think Cleveland did anything special other than just simply play hard, execute, and force them to actually do something other than stand around. And Jaylen Brown kept them afloat with 10 points early on. As you pointed out, John, the bench, big contribution. Sam Hauser made big shots. Derek White was able to kind of get them, I think, get the crowd into the game in the second quarter with some big shots. Had 3 consecutive 3 balls that he hit. And in the second half, the Celtics just said, okay, we're going to play them straight up as if we want to win this game and we want to win it emphatically. Jaylen Brown comes out, quick 5 points, and they were off the races. But the thing that they did that disturbed me, John, more than anything else, was because of how they started the game, Cleveland had way more confidence than they should have had coming in here. They actually made Cleveland feel like, you know what, we can win this game. We can actually win this game. And when you have the kind of team that they have, and you look at Cleveland, they don't have Mobley out there, so they're not nearly as strong as they would normally be. You can't give that team hope and confidence. And that was the thing that disturbed me most about this game. I thought they gave Cleveland a sense that they belonged on this stage. And when you look at Cleveland record, they're 2 games above 500. This is the kind of team that, in theory, you play in the first round of the playoffs.
They should be better, though, shouldn't they, Sherrod?
Cleveland?
Yeah.
Jimmy, let's just look at the starting lineup. Max Strus, Dean Wade, Jared Allen, Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland. That's at best, maybe 5th, 6th best team in the
Max
East.
Strus was in the starting lineup of an NBA Finals team last year, so I'm not going to knock it.
I am. You damn right want to knock it. But
I guess you're right.
Max Strus is the reason why the
Methuen
Celtics
zone,
will
too.
never take Sam Hauser for granted. They will not make that mistake again. They will not make that mistake again.
Yeah.
But listen, this they have two or three, I think, glaring weaknesses. Garland, quick as all get out. Damn, he's fast.
Yeah.
But he's little, dude. He's a little guy. And Donovan Mitchell, again, good shooting guard, obviously an all-star, but is on the small side. And then you've got Jared Allen with great rim protection, and then you got Strus and Wade, who are not very good defenders. And so they're 2 games above 500 team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm gonna kind of I don't want to go there and
do it,
win.
John.
I'm gonna have to
do it.
10 minutes it took you to go there.
No, it's not that. It's just Porzingis had a really rough start to this game. There's no question about it. I don't know, Tatum. I thought Tatum drifted in and out of this game most of the night.
Oh, John, he wasn't good. I'll say
what's funny
you.
is though, the thing is though, he made some incredible plays. Like he had
Down
moments, but even throughout, like he had moments where like he kind of it clicked. Like nobody here can guard me, and he went really strong. He made some outstanding passes. White in the corner for a 3. The one to Jaylen Brown that it looked like he got a flat tire trying to go up for the dunk was a sick pass. And then he and the bench unit were responsible for a couple of runs in the game. They kept it close, but then at times he was in and out of it a lot of the game, and really weird shot selection, bad shots at different times, and it's kind of like that whole like tone setting thing. Like Brown set a pretty good tone in the first quarter. I just felt like Tatum never really did. And then there'd just be times where they'd look to him and he'd do something silly, a careless turnover, or just a really ill-advised shot. He had a horrible one in the I remember Porzingis was working for position in the paint, and Tatum jacks a ridiculous contested 3 when they're up 5 or 6 late in the fourth quarter. There were just pockets of time where I just felt like he was in and out effort-wise and focus-wise in this game.
Yeah, he never seemed to get into any kind of flow, whether it was him or his role with the team. He was just kind of out there.
He was out of the flow. He wasn't bad. He did some awesome things, but I feel like if he's locked in all game, I think it's not as it's not as close.
And he's going to have games like that. And the challenge for the Celtics is finding ways to win those games when he's just not fully engaged the way you would want him to be. But I will say this about Tatum. These are the kind of games that remind me of how great a player he is, because great players, when they're able to still produce statistically, even when they're not fully engaged and giving, everything they have out there. I mean, Tatum had a double-double, 25 and 10. For a lot of guys, that's like, you're going to be at the podium in the post-game press conference type of performance. But Tatum, he was maybe third, fourth best player for them in this game in terms of impact. But yet his numbers are top shelf stats. He's that good, but he just wasn't that good tonight. And the Celtics can take solace in the fact that they were able to win a game against just a scrappy Cleveland team without their best player doing best player type things. But you can't make this a habit. I mean, we can have a game like this. It has to be every now and then it can happen, but this can't be a snowball effect where we see this Jason Tatum can't be on the floor when they see Cleveland in a couple days because they'll lose. They'll lose.
Yeah. I love these two. I love these little mini series that they do now.
John, it's like the old days back in the 80s and 90s where they have the best of 3 playoff, best of 5, and you've got a couple games at home. Before your time, Jimmy. Before your time.
I remember it. I think my great-great-grandparents were telling me about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, it's one of those things again where like even if you don't have like an A++, Jaylen game, and this is all what it comes down to. It's the same story when you have the 6 starters. It's when all 6 of those guys are playing, it's really hard to go through like you can go through a bad spell of anybody at this point. Mm-hmm. Porzingis looked like he was like on drugs to start the game. He was just throwing the ball like nowhere. I mean, nowhere even close to other people. And then, like you said, Tatum in and out. Holiday started slow, came on strong. Like eventually somebody's going to just do it. Tatum had spurts where he was dominant. White started just banging threes. Holiday had a really good second half. Porzingis had a good second half. Brown came out gunning to start the first and the third quarters. So like different pockets, different times. It's really hard you have too many people to like not be able to withstand so games from some of your better players. So it's always a talent wins out thing. When all these guys are playing, it just feels like they're going to figure it out.
It's like watching whack-a-mole in the NBA. Yeah. Like the minute you whack one, there's another Celtic that you got to worry about who's popping up, giving you problems. That's why Wick Grossbeck is cutting the big checks. This is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to have games where you can have one or two of your top 5-6 players not be great and still beat a good team.
That's the whole point of having 6 really good players, right? Because on any given night, you might get a couple that just feel like they're not feeling it for whatever reason, Sherrod. And then on another night, a guy like Derek White is your MVP, quote unquote, like he was on Friday, right? So that's the beauty of it. And that's why you try not to get too low if they don't put in a good performance when they aren't fully healthy. Because the goal and the hope is that you go into the playoffs fully healthy. And I think the truth is they need to be fully healthy. They're not good enough without all of these guys being out there on the court in some capacity. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown cannot do it without Porzingis. And those are just the facts. And that might be hard for some people to admit. They've I think there's a reason that Brad Stevens went out there and made a point to really put some serious talent around these two guys this year and really make a run at a championship with the current window that they have, knowing that Tatum and Brown by themselves, or even with a mediocre lineup around them, just aren't enough. And it's not really a knock on them. I think there's just so much talent in the NBA now where you have to have 4 or 5 guys deep that can really, on any given night, do their thing and sort of carry you to that win. If you look around the league, any of the great teams, Phoenix, LA, Clippers or Lakers, Denver, these teams, Milwaukee, they've got, maybe not Milwaukee, they've pretty much got 2 guys, but 2.5 with what's his name there. But point is, you have to be deep. And so on a night like tonight, yeah, they had to show up in the way that they did. So Tatum can have an off night, but if everyone else is out there doing their thing, you might be fine.
Yeah.
And it's once in a while. Tatum has been, the guy just got player of the month, right? So, this isn't
player of the month and change.
Yeah.
The October, November.
Basically Eastern Conference MVP.
Right. So,
to start the season.
And people get on us because they say we don't criticize him enough, but really, how often?
That's all we've been doing. That's all we've been doing so far.
Because the standard's so high. Basically, the Tatum argument really comes down to, is he him? Anything short of that doesn't matter. Like, you can put up stats, you can have your good games. It's just a matter of, like, you got to have the big shoulders. When everything goes sideways, can that guy pull you out, or is he looking around and hoping that somebody else does? Because that's what the superstar, that's what you're expecting. And you're also just expecting kind of the more consistent, like, the lead by example sort of stuff where everyone's going to get on him when he's looking like he's kind of, you just hate seeing the too cool for school times. I know in an 82 game season,
everyone does it.
Everyone does it. So it's not like, but also every fan base flips out when their players do it. So there's nothing unique about it. Like, you see it, you're emotional, you want the win. You came to watch it because you wanted to see them win. You're annoyed when it's not there. So that's why he catches kind of pieces of criticism there. But otherwise, whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. No, he did. He did what the superstars are supposed to do, and that is when your team absolutely needs you the most, you come through. That 3 ball that he hit in the fourth that put him up by 7, that was such a huge shot. For about 4 minutes to play, it felt in here as though that was like the back-breaking shot that they needed to just deflate this Cleveland team to the point where you just kind of knew at that point, even though there was plenty of time left and they were up by only 7 points, the game was effectively over. And that's what players like Tatum are supposed to do. If you go 0 for whatever, your next shot, if it's a game winner, if it's a shot that can put you in position to win, you more likely than not, you're going to make that shot. I thought he did a good job of that tonight.
I just don't get this comment. I mean, we've been watching these two guys for how long? They've never been able to get it done. They've never been able to get it done. Why do we think that they can't? And
this season's a clear indication that nobody thought they could, so they went and they got them 2 all-stars to bolster,
Right.
Not even their coaches and front office guys think they can. So it's okay, guys. It's okay to admit that they can't do it themselves. It's not like a huge knock on them. It's more of an indication of the talent around the league and what it takes to win a championship. It's more than 2 guys. Even if one of them is a top 5 player, the other one's a top, that's up for debate where you want to put Jaylen Brown.
But Jimmy, I mean, even if you go out west and look at Phoenix, and look what they did. I mean, they've got 3 guys, arguably top 10, top 15 players, and they're 2 games above 500 right now. So when you're talking about winning championships, you're going to need multiple guys. You look at the Denver Nuggets last year. I mean, Jokic is a great player, but he had so many top shelf role players on that team that were instrumental in them advancing from one round to the next. You're not the days of just rolling the ball out and having 2 guys or 1 guy carry the team deep into the playoffs. Those days are dead. It's not coming back.
Mm-hmm. So. And the Celtics, the way that this team is built, are designed to win a championship.
Yeah.
So credit to the front office for understanding what they needed to do. They got better. They're 17-5. They're first in the East. And this was a game where, they didn't play their A game, but they did what they had to do to win. And that's why, we're going back and forth on trying to find another angle from this one. But I think that's kind of where we're all at with it,
No, I love the fact that they had so many different guys that did so many really good things at different moments in the game to help them get this win. Because this felt like a kind of a cut and paste type of victory where you put this together and you add this to here and you add that, and that's how you get the win.
How about 26 free throws tonight? 26 for 26 from the line.
I don't know. I'm waiting for someone to come around when the last time that happened. I don't know if they've ever. Yeah, I don't know when the last time they had that many made free throws without a miss.
That many, and exactly without a miss. That's a Dick Lipe stat that we'll have to wait.
And you're looking at it, but here's the other thing too. You got to look in 1, 2, 3, 4. Only 5 players went to the line. Everyone in your starting lineup except Drew Holiday, and then you had a couple free throws from your boy Lemon Square Luke Cornett. He drained a couple.
Yep.
Yeah, he was good. So let's give Jaylen some flowers because I also want to talk about another aspect of his game that I feel like he himself has brought into the news. And now Joe's talking about it as well. But Jaylen was solid tonight, kind of like in the initiator role. This is what kind of bugs me about the team mentality. And this is where, like, Jaylen, I've always thought in years past had the greatest value. When everything went to crap and the bucket looked like it was this big and you couldn't get anything in and you're getting good looks but nothing's going down, which is what happened in the first half. They got good looks, but sometimes they just don't fall. You know what does fall? Layups. And dunks, And so sometimes you got to see the ball go through when things aren't going well. Mm-hmm. And, like, that's where Brown has always been great is, like, he has the ability more so than anybody else on the team. And certainly even, and Tatum's gotten better at it, but and he's also extremely difficult to guard. And I like when he's going to the basket too, but Brown's just got that extra motor where he can just use sheer physicality with a matchup like Strus. He saw Strus on him and he was like, gimme. And he just went straight friggin' line to the basket and just scored, with just nothing fancy. Just, I'm going to go hard and fast and I'm just going to go up and I'm going to finish. And that's that. Freaking great. So we love seeing that from Brown. And then, he came out in the first play of the third quarter, boom, right to the basket, scores. And then he catches another corner 3 there, which was great. So, like, all of the best elements of his game as, like, the instigator, like as him going out there and talking about it. But there's been, like, this thing about Jaylen and his assists, which is not a new thing at all, right? Like, It's just a thing.
It's just part of part of who he is.
His entire life, he's a 1-to-1 assist to turnover guy. The defenders will say things like, well, it's not his job. Sure, fine, whatever. Not his job, I guess.
Right.
It's not.
But anyway, go ahead, Sherrod.
No, I was just going to add, and Jimmy, I'll pass you really quick, but Jaylen, when it comes to passing, I don't expect Jaylen to pass the ball for good shots. I expect him to give it up when there are great shots that guys can make. If it's a good shot that one of his teammates can take, guess what? Him attacking the rim is a good shot. So to me, Jaylen is figuring out, when can I make the great pass for a great shot to a teammate? And that's where it gets a little muddled, because at the end of the day, John, and I think we all agree, Jaylen is going to be a assist to a turnover kind of guy. And I'm okay with that, because he's probably going to get more buckets, finishing at the rim, drawing contact, doing the things that his game should be allowing to happen. He's a physical guard. When he sees mismatches, you almost feel like the ball boy's got to get the towel out to get the drool off the court, because he is foaming at the mouth when he sees a mismatch that he can take down on the block. It's old school basketball. We've all been there. Some of us have probably been on the short end of that, where a bigger player just takes us on a block and just goes to work. That's Jaylen's mentality. And I like to see him when he's thinking like that, because that's when I think he's the best version of himself.
Right.
And
Jimmy?
I'm going to fax my dog, Sherrod, not because I wasn't paying attention, but because I genuinely
I knew he wasn't.
No, I agree. And I've been saying the same thing, especially recently, Sherrod, because I feel like Jaylen Brown has been getting a lot more criticism because of, the new contract, a different role, different talent around him, and him trying to find what you do best. And it's what you just said. It's scoring. He can be one of the best finishers, one of the best scorers in the league if he focuses on just that. There's a difference between focusing on that and forcing that, though. So, sure, if you're dribbling into traffic and turning the ball over, I'd rather see you pass it out. That doesn't mean I need you to pass it out to the guy for the wide open three and get the assist, but just make the smart play. It's not always going to be the assist. It might be the hockey assist, or it might be the potential assist that we're going to start seeing thrown around now, because that's these stupid stats that everyone wants to throw out there when they want to make a point. But I just want Jaylen Brown to focus on being aggressive, playing physical, not just starting off strong, but finishing strong in these games, and just playing connected with the rest of the team. That's all. That's all I want. And do your thing with Porzingis. Continue the bromance with Porzingis. Make each other better. Find him for the lobs, and all that stuff's going to fall into place. So I still think that Jaylen Brown can be one of the better scorers in the league, but I don't care if he doesn't average 5 assists or even 4 assists a game. Like, that's not what he's supposed to do. Shooting guards historically never pass the freaking ball. And I know he's not in the shooting guard position. He's in the small forward position.
Which is fine. But here's the thing.
That's just where I'm at with him.
But that's fine. It's like, but why bother defending it? Like, some guys just don't do certain things, but why make arguments that he does, we just don't see it? Like, the reality was this, like, when that tweet went out, and again, this was because I don't get it. Like,
were you running the ESPN account that day, John?
Yeah. Look, Jaylen reacts to an ESPN post that he had 0 assists over 2 games. I mean, the thing is, when you're a scorer, you have the ball in your hands. It's almost harder to get 0 assists than it is to get 1, 2, or 3.
They act like that's some type of anomaly or something. That's who he is.
But what's funny is, like, it's like at that time, Jaylen was 30th in the league in scoring. Every single player in front of him, whose job it is to score, had more assists. That included 3 or 4 like centers or big men. Like, most people stumble into an assist or 2. So now we're starting to make it about dumb shit like secondary assist. Just let the man score. Like,
It's
like, let him score. So here's Jaylen earlier today. And again, I'm with JB on this. I wish we could just treat it as a fact. We know he's not a big time playmaker. We know he's put his head down and go to the basket guy. He's not point Jaylen. He's just not that guy. But I don't know why we need to pretend he's more that guy than we realize.
You're not that guy, pal.
You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy.
I'm not sure.
Reposted to Instagram the graphic from ESPN. Is that something that's motivating you? Not necessarily. What is ESPN motivating me?
Well, or like people, doubters and haters.
Oh, you can say that. But in a sense, that's how I carry myself. I'm always getting better. It's been a story from me from the beginning of time. Like, I'm going to keep improving, keep getting better. I'm not the same player I was last year, and I won't be the same player a year from now. So just always trying to improve and get better and work on my weaknesses. And I put in a lot of work this summer. Obviously, it was a tough loss losing in the home floor, one game before the finals. And since then, I've been dedicated to making myself a better basketball player.
I feel like it was just an unfair shot by them. Like, it seemed like a very random,
Probably a slow news day.
Yeah, right.
Nice to not have any context to add with it, right?
Yeah, no context. It is what it is. Most people, they don't watch the game, so it's all about just trying to get better and improve and helping my team win, staying consistent in that regard, X, Y, and Z. So that's what my focus is on.
Thank you.
At the beginning of time, I was that man. I love Jaylen. I'm
Jaylen was, and again, this is funny. Is like it shouldn't have been the story before the game. Should be the story tonight. Jaylen had a really good game. It had nothing to do with the 4 assists or 2 potential assists that he had tonight. I just don't. I don't know why we need to
potential assists.
He's just hooping.
If I start seeing hockey assist stats, I'm gonna kill somebody.
You know what though? What's funny
we
is
joked about this a few years ago, John.
What's
really
funny
did.
is that's his best of all of the stats, of all of the secondary stats. The secondary assist is actually where he's at the highest. So
I believe it.
He has more of that than anything else. The other stuff is silly, but potential assists are actually pretty decent.
Well, good for him.
They are. They are. It's great.
Add that to the All-Star game.
Jaylen, that wasn't fair. Was that fair?
Yeah.
Slow news day, guys. Slow news day. Slow news day. I love that. I am all in on Jaylen with this one. I mean, look. Let's not act as if this is Jason Kidd 2.0. They both went to Cal, but they're not the same damn player. Not even close. Jaylen is a scorer. He's doing what he's paid. He's literally being paid to do.
Scores.
He's paid to be a scorer. And to me, I would be more upset if he was looking off wide open guys and driving into 2 and 3 men waiting for him in the paint. That's the kind of stuff that frustrates me. But I don't think he's been doing that the last couple of games. I think he's played a really smart game, taking what the defense is giving him, making him pay.
That's the thing is like it's not them. It's not the issue isn't Tatum and Brown and their ability to make plays. It's running the offense through them and expecting them to make plays. Because when you're not supposed to do that, that's where they ran into problems in the past. Is just give it to them and then let it happen. And tonight, it's really more about just making the right read with the ball. And tonight, Brown did that. He did have early on, not only was he scoring, but a couple of times he got into the paint and kicked it out to people for wide open threes, and they didn't knock him down. It's all about making the right read at the right time. The issue with Jaylen Brown is sometimes he jumps and he doesn't know where he's going, and what might turn it over or get himself caught under the rim and this and that. But it has nothing to do with assist totals, and it never really has. So I don't know why it became an issue. I just think it's funny because it is hard to get 0 when you have the ball that much and score that little. So I think him doing it over 2 games, it was just that's interesting.
Some ESPN intern thought the same thing, John. They were like, I'm gonna tweet this. This is kind of interesting.
That's fine. But yeah, this is a good thing. He's a running back. He's wearing down your defense.
Yeah,
I'll buy that.
He's a running back.
I'll buy that Tony Lewis. I'll take that.
I'll buy a Tony Lewis. I'll buy that Tony Lewis. Yeah. Speaking of which, while I've got you guys on the hook, why don't you buy this?
Running backs.
Why don't you get involved? If you're interested in getting in on the action.
We are interested.
Yeah. Visit FanDuel,
we are.
Official wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network this year and beyond. Also the official betting partner of the NFL. And as you know, the NFL is winding it down. And
I think they're winding it up.
Winding it down into the regular season and winding it up into some fun playoff related stuff, which the Patriots, how about this? The Patriots are winding it down.
Patriots are winding it down.
Boy, did the Patriots have a great weekend, huh?
If only they had lost Thursday.
All 4-4 teams won. It's going to be hard for them not to get that a top 3 pick.
Yeah, I know. I'm begging for Marvin Harrison Jr. Begging.
Yeah. I'll agree with this, by the way.
Who's going to throw him the damn ball?
I think
that's okay. We'll figure it out later.
I agree this with Kess too. The ball stopping can be a problem. It's really about ball movement. I think that's a really good point. Sometimes it's just simply make the decision quick that you're going to do something with it or get it moving, and I think that's important. I think Tatum's a ball stopper way more than Brown is for that
I would agree.
in that regard. So that's a Tatum issue for me more than it is a Brown issue. The Brown issue is kind of not really having a plan. And then just kind of going, and then he's so athletically gifted, oftentimes it works out, but he usually gets himself in trouble there, not in I'm going to hold it and slow it down and let the defense set. That's more of a Tatum issue. And again, I just wish Joe would just let the guards run it through White when he's out there, let Holiday have it, and have these guys playing off it a little bit more, but it doesn't matter. FanDuel, as we said, FanDuel.com/Boston. Get in on the action. 115 bonus bets when you place a winning $5 money line bet. That means just bet the game straight up. You get 150 in bonus bets. I can guarantee you there's going to be some really cool new promotions coming up from the playoffs. So if you want to get involved and get in on the action, go for it. Don't listen to me. I've been wrong a couple times recently on the Pats.
Well, they're going to lose. Listen. They're going to lose against the Chiefs, right? The Chiefs can't lose to the Patriots.
Never say never, Jimmy.
Who's Jenny?
I mispronounced your name, Jimmy.
Who's Jenny?
This is a funny expression.
Oh, God. The media literally sucks the sweat out of these players' socks. They are too scared to upset them.
The little kid.
Not me. You won't find me doing that.
We got to figure out a way to get that into the playoffs, into the NCAA tournament. That was great.
That's a good one.
The sweaty sock suckers.
The media's not fair, Jaylen. Aren't you, media? Yeah, but still. It's not still, man. They're not nice. I'm not one of them.
FanDuel Chiefs money line.
It's funny how you got media referring to media as media.
Everyone's calling me Jenny in the chat now, Sherrod. Thanks a lot. See what you did? The whole
My
chat
bad,
is calling me Jenny right now.
My bad, Jimmy.
I'm never going to get over this. I'm never going to be able to get past this.
You've got stocking stuffers and you've got sock suckers.
Sock suckers.
Sock suckers.
I like that one.
Anyway, get in on the action. FanDuel.com/Boston. Once again, FanDuel.com/Boston. Get in on that 150 bonus bets, any $5 money line bet. Restrictions apply. Check the website for details. Expires within a week.
Too.
Yeah. What?
No, finish. Finish your read. The Chiefs kind of suck now too.
They don't suck enough.
Jimmy.
This game.
No, they don't suck enough to lose to the Patriots, but something was wrong with the Chiefs.
They were an offsides penalty away from winning their last game. So, which was a hell of a play that they drew up there.
Luck. And that was an most embarrassing crying fit I think I've ever seen in professional sports.
Josue behind enemy lines, reporting from the Cleveland locker room or something.
Joey, baby.
I love how you just finished that read. Like some of the craziest stuff wasn't just said in the middle of it. but that's neither here or there. This is actually the podium, Cleveland's podium.
That's a good spot to be.
Yeah, it is, and I'm surprised this is still up. To be honest with you, they usually take it down by now. But
yeah.
Anywho, what's going on?
Nothing. You tell us.
Man, Mazzulla had nothing but great things to say about Tatum and Brown, and gushed about the fact that a lot of outside media, maybe not media per se, but people in general will gravitate towards their stat line instead of looking at the overall impact they make on the game. And he said that this game was not only a playoff type atmosphere for these guys to thrive in, but they took the mantle and ran with it. Jaylen Brown, especially on both ends of the floor, talking about how he affected the game in every aspect. In this type of, as he said, playoff type atmosphere, which he felt like is the closest he's seen all season long that he saw in this game. The Celtics facing a 15-point deficit. The Celtics didn't panic. They continued to grab rebounds, create more possessions, which is an overall goal for the Celtics team a lot of the time. It's just generating more possessions than the opposing team, and obviously making those free throws, those opportunities went a long way for this team. And look, Tatum set the tone, going 9 for 9 the way he did in that first half, and he never reverted to settling for shots. I hated the way this team looked in that first quarter. I mean, some of those possessions where you saw a couple of passes before a shot went up, 7 seconds, 8 seconds into a 24-second shot clock, and I'm thinking to myself, when are they going to fix this? I thought Kristaps Porzingis, the Cavs did a really good job taking away space from him. He was uncomfortable. He couldn't get in those passes as well, but everything changed in the second half, and he credited all of it to Tatum and Brown when I asked him about Porzingis and what he saw out of Porzingis in the second half and his approach that opened up a 21-point game that I didn't see coming. And he pointed again to Tatum and Brown and said that these guys do their job in finding him and knowing how to read defenses. And he said a lot of great things, not only about Tatum and the two, but Jaylen as well. And he pointed out the ESPN, what was that graphic they put out about the
I got it right
that?
here.
Okay. We'll get into that. So
I got it right here. We were just talking about it. Here we go.
That was like a cherry on top.
Criticism recently for the 0 assists in back-to-back games. How much do you assess his play by the assist total? Like, does that kind
of? It's one of the most misleading stats of all time. You know why?
Why is that?
You know what has to happen for you to get an assist?
Made basket.
Yeah. So what we look at are potential assists, and so. To me, it's one of the most misleading things to say a guy didn't get an assist. That doesn't mean he didn't pass. It doesn't mean he didn't make the right read. It just meant on his potential assist opportunities, those shots didn't go in. And I think that's what's important for our guys, what success looks like. Jaylen averaged like 5.5 potential assists in those 2 games. And in reality, we don't need him to average more potential assists. We need him to score. We need to put him in position to where he can get out in transition and run. He can get those easy baskets. He can get inside the paint. And so I make sure I talk to them about, 43 is whatever it was and 0 assists, but here are your potential assists, and here are the 2 or 3 possessions where you may have been able to take another play. But for this team, it's important that success isn't defined by stuff like that because it's misleading and it's not fair to them. And that's where tonight, for Jaylen, he's not going to get the credit for the couple of the big plays that he'll make. And for Jason, no one's going to be 25, 10, and 10. To me, how are we not talking about that first? Of his ability to dominate both ends of the floor and be a playmaker for everybody, and for his presence and his ability to make all his teammates better. That stuff is more important than a stat line, and we have to understand that.
Potential assists.
Bobby nailed it.
So that's all fine and good, but let's all fine and good. But again, there's no question about it. They have to make the baskets, right? But again, Jaylen Brown is 100th in the league in assists, and
which I answered out loud, by the way. I don't know why. I swear, when people do that, when they put an open-ended question like that, and then I'll just say it, and Gary Washburn gave me a look like, really, Josue? You got to answer that question?
Jaylen Brown's 100th in the league in assists and 84th in potential assists. The 5.5 potential assists that Joe talked about in those 2 games would be ranked 110th in the league overall. These aren't mind-blowing stats, but he's right. It really just matters. It all goes back to what we're saying. Just making the read. It's not a total for Jaylen Brown. It's not. Because it's ultimately did you make the right decision when you had the ball in your hands? And most of the time he has the ball in his hands, he's being asked to score the basketball, not to go out there and to dish, and to find teammates. So again, he's right, but it's just, it's even still for a wing player, it's a lower than, even for wing scorers, it's still, all the numbers are lower than most of his peers who score a lot at that position. So it's still something that people are going to bring up relative to others around him. It just is what it is. You can make that case, but you could look at all other 2s and 3s around the league, and they're all higher in both categories. So who are you Are you competing against people, or can we just leave it alone and just say that's what Jaylen Brown is and stop creating a narrative that it's something that we're not necessarily seeing? It's not really there. It isn't. It's not a thing. It's not. But it's also not important.
Right. I mean, where do we draw the line with that kind of stuff? Because, are we going to look at potential made baskets if they're, let's say, struggling to make shots?
Sherrod, he said this last year too, right? I feel like I've heard this before. Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
You know what he said that I thought was a little bit disturbing was that Jaylen and Jason, that's great that you're giving him praise. But you do realize that no one was really into this game until Derek White hit 3 consecutive threes.
Yeah.
To me, that's when the tide started turning. When your fifth option, Derek White, made back-to-back-to-back threes. It's a one-possession game after you were getting your ass kicked by 15 points in the first quarter. Now all of a sudden it's a one-possession game. And you want to talk to me after the game about how your number one and number two guys were the difference makers? Yes, they played an important role. But the tide of this game didn't start turning in your favor until your fifth option. And again, it's a reminder to me and to everyone how Derek White is so freaking overlooked. So just
every game, Sherrod.
Every damn day. He was so huge in this game. I don't get it. I know. I don't get it.
You know what, though? That he always misses when Jaylen passes it to him.
Is that accurate, or is it like an 80%?
No, it's just some...
John's like, it's 100% true. I've been tracking this.
He misses 100%.
That close. Close.
It's just something. I think they're messing with him. They're taking away his stats.
They're doing it on purpose. Clearly.
No, but I mean, but yeah, I don't know why Joe's super defensive there, but I get it. Like, he's hearing it. He wants to defend his guys there, and I think that's good.
But you got to remember too, John. They spent a lot of time, in practice the last 4 days. Like, this is an extensive break to sort of just talk about that stuff for the second and third, fourth time. Which I'm sure it wasn't as casual between coaches, but I'm sure the players were joking about it. Even Jaylen commented on it, and then that became a graphic that was all over social media when he said, like, "Oh, won't you guys watch the game?" So I sort of had the feeling that Jaylen's going to have one of those games tonight, where he's dishing and he's completing his stat sheet and everything, and trying to show everyone like, hey, I'm a team player too. But I thought that what Joe said today was spot on. That it went beyond that, it extended way beyond that, especially defensively and just staying in the moment, which I think is something that we bring up a lot when it comes to Jaylen. That he never stepped out of it. In fact, when they were down 15 during the timeout where Sam Cassell sort of took over the first half of it, kind of tell these guys what they need to do to get back into it or whatever. Jaylen's very active in that huddle, and I like to see that from him. Very vocal, I should say. Not as demonstrative as Sam Cassell often is, but he put in his 2 cents, and you could tell everyone was listening, and that's great. That's great stuff. I mean, we're tough with Jaylen, right? We do that often here on this show, and people bring it up a lot. And I think when you see stuff like that, you know that obviously Jaylen's heart's in the right place, but we just want to see more of that and see it on a consistent level,
Yeah, it's fine. It's all fine and good, but let's not defend it. By pulling up, but let's not say don't look at stats and then pull up other stupid stats that don't tell much of a stat. I mean, you want to talk about stats? I'll go back to Kess's point. Move the freaking basketball. Jaylen Brown's like 170th in the league in passes made.
Yeah.
It's really just making the right reads and moving the ball. There's no reason to bring up stats to try to prove a point about something that isn't happening.
No, but Joey
just
had
like there's no reason to bring up other stats to bring up a point to criticize somebody's game if that's not really what they were there to do. I don't understand.
No, to me,
countering stats with stats to make a point about something that isn't really true.
Yeah, he had that in his back pocket, and as soon as he said
I know.
it,
that was a Washburn. Do you know 6 years ago you wrote about assists?
Well, he did it with Bobby. Like Bobby, you do know what has to happen to get an assist.
The other guy has to make it, coach. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was Josue in the back. Thank you, Josue.
I swear, if you put a question out there like that,
I know the answer. I know the answer. Ooh, pick on me.
I revert to a student. I swear, man. You put a question like that and you pause for emphasis, I'm going to answer it like nine times out of 10.
But it's
I know, Joe. I know the answer. Joe, call out Joe. I know.
And I said it just loud enough for Gary to turn around and be like,
I would have gave you an F for class participation just for doing that stupid shit.
I just hope coach didn't hear me.
The whole thing is, though, you can use that potential assist or secondary assist on any single player. You can't just apply it to Jaylen Brown and say, well, he would have had this many assists. Okay, well, then do that for everybody. And it's all relative. It's all going to still show that his assists are much lower. So, again, but I don't care. And I think a lot of people shouldn't care because that's just not who Jaylen Brown is. And we just need to accept that.
I just think this is – sorry, go ahead.
No, that's pretty much where I'm at with it. We just need to accept that.
I was just going to say, I just think this is like Mazzulla's favorite game of the season thus far for Jaylen, right? And I think that it was just his opportunity. He went into this saying that if Jaylen comes up or if that damn assist thing comes up, I'm ready.
I'm ready.
I think Mazzulla's like that. I think he's about that life. You know, he's got receipts, obviously, like you said, Sherrod, when he mentioned an article that Washburn wrote 200 articles ago. You know, obviously this guy has receipts, and he's someone that goes into sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes goes into a press conference just ready to show that receipt and be like, hey, listen, well, this, that, and the other. You know what I mean? Like he has that counter in his pocket.
Yeah. And I'm sure when he saw that, you know, or was told about there was a graphic or whatever saying that Jaylen had 0 assists in 2 games, he probably went to someone in the stats group and just said, hey, what is his assist, you know, potential assist average? It's 5 and 5. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Also, some people.
Yeah, someone got that.
Some people in the chat aren't quite getting it. The entire chat is defending Jaylen Brown, not attacking Jaylen Brown. It's that the stat is a pointless thing to point out about Brown's effectiveness.
Oh, I thought you wanted me. I thought you would have to explain what a potential assist was. What he meant by that, you know, like, yeah, the other guy has to make the shot. They didn't get that part.
I don't understand the defense of it as like, yeah, well, how about this potential? Okay, Joe, that's fine too, but it's not.
Potential points. Yeah, what are we going to do next?
Again, and like you said, Joe's right. It's the read. Make the right read with the basketball, and I'm going to double down on what Kes said. And as long as people are moving the basketball, good things happen. That's literally all that happens. But anyway, Brown took control of portions of the game tonight when they needed, like early. This game would have been friggin' 20-0 if Brown wasn't on the court. I don't know what was going on other than that. So that was solid. And I thought he played. I thought he made the right decision most times that we had the ball in his hand tonight.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah,
I would agree.
So Brown had a good game. Everybody got it. Brown had a good game.
MVP.
Yeah.
Brought to you by John Zannis.
Brownie Award. Brown gets the Brownie Award. Okay.
Hold on one second. You guys carry it. I have to respond to something.
I was going to say, you just put us on hold?
No.
Yeah.
All right. You carry it.
Say something.
Josue, what else did you hear? What else did you see in the locker room tonight? Tell us. Take us through something.
These guys were partying. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, look, these guys, they're happy. You know, they kept the streak going. I don't know if that's even a thing, but I mean, in my head, I got it going. 11-0 at home. 15-point deficit that they were able to wipe out as quickly as they could. I mean, unfortunately, I wasn't able to hear Tatum. I think he's probably up right now. But, I mean, I just feel like these guys are really buying into the philosophy that Joe Mazzulla has been preaching since training camp, which is, you know, it's going to look different every single night. And a lot of the stuff that he said about Tatum and Brown's responsibilities and, you know, having to, you know, shoulder that pressure, but also like, hey, this isn't just about a team with 2 all-stars and a bunch of role players. The way Joe put it was, this team has 4, 5, 6 all-stars, you know, and it's that balance and having to figure out how they're going to win on a night-to-night basis, and it's going to look different. And you know, he said that before. It's one of his lines. I feel like he's got like 3 or 4 of them that he repeats throughout. And I think these guys really buy into what he's saying. I mean, because the proof is right in front of them. You know, these games and these obstacles that they're facing, you know, they look different. And, you know, obviously that's going to happen when you're the top team in the Eastern Conference and when you got so much talent, you know, offensively. You're going to get teams as best as I mean, look, the Celtics having 4 days off in Cleveland, who just played, you know, like that's tough. You know, I think the Celtics did a good job, obviously, in correcting their mistakes, but it really does boil down to these 2 guys, though, when you look at it. But I agree with Joe in the sense that it's not a narrative of 2 all-stars have to carry the load. No, it's them figuring out what the problem is on a night-to-night basis and getting guys, you know, their looks, you know, figuring out how to get other guys going. And I think the best example of that tonight was Kristaps Porzingis. You know, I mean, the guy had 4 points at halftime. He finished this with 21. He just looked much more comfortable out there, and they were finding him in his spots, right? Whether it was in the paint, you know, for him to do that turnaround, or whether it was at the top of the key. So.
Right, or putting him in a position where he's got mismatches, where he's got someone like Darius Garland guarding him on the elbow, and little things like that. But the one thing, Joseph, I don't know if they talked about it at all, but I thought this was one of their better games at defending without fouling.
They did. Joe brought that up. Yeah.
And the fact that, I mean, you get 26, not only were they perfect 26 for 26, but the team they played took a total of 9 free throws.
That's crazy.
I mean, that's crazy. This was
Tatum did that.
Yeah. I mean, Tatum had Tatum and Porzingis each had as many free throws by themselves as the entire Cavs team did.
Yeah.
So their defense, I thought in this game was really solid. Which I again, giving up 113 points, you're not crazy about that, but it wasn't like you were putting guys on the line and hacking the hell out of folks.
Yeah, which is shots. You remember that used to be their thing sometimes, right? When they were down by 10 or whatever, they started panicking, and maybe they hit a couple threes, so they got the momentum going. And then what happens? Someone does enough fake and slap, or 2 passes and someone just gets tackled by Grant Williams or whatever. I mean, not to throw shade at him, but like that was a problem.
You just did.
He popped in my mind. That was an ongoing issue because they felt like they were like acting as if it was a 2-minute game. You know what I mean? 2 minutes left in the game. So I feel like they corrected so much of that. But obviously having guys like Drew and Kristaps and this revamped or confidence at an all-time high, Derek White, all of that plays a part. But hey, in this one, I'm 100% agreeing with Joe Mazzulla that it really was Tatum and Brown helping to get those guys going. But obviously reading the opposing defense and knowing when to make the changes.
Okay. I think it was Derek White, but that's fine.
The 3 threes in a row. I mean, hey, why is he open? Why is he open all the time?
I think Derek White makes everything.
First of all, he wasn't
better.
Yeah. I mean, there's at least one of those threes where he just walked into it, just brought it up and raised up.
Yeah. The backcourt steal too. I love that backcourt steal.
Listen, the entire team, the entire crowd was as if this was like the day after Thanksgiving and we were all still just kind of in our little food comas.
Yeah.
And then Derek White hits back-to-back threes, and all of a sudden everyone is up in their feet. People are screaming and yelling. It becomes a playoff-like atmosphere because you have guys doing the kind of things that you're going to need in the playoffs. And fortunately for the Celtics, it didn't have to be Jaylen. It didn't have to be Jason. It was Derek White that kind of triggered it and sparked them to get moving and get this thing going.
Yeah.
DY.
But listen, we can talk about potential assists till we're blue in the face.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And
I gotta get a potential assist question.
I know, and they got it doesn't matter. They got to the line so much. The overall assist totals are obviously going to be down tonight because they scored. They made 38 field goals. They assisted on 22 or 23 of them. That's pretty good rate. But they got 26 out of 26 freebies is nuts. That's one thing at least people can stop freaking out about is the kind of the give backs with everybody like Tatum's percentage being slightly down from last year, Brown slightly down from last year. I assume that's going to correct itself. That stat's going to regress to the mean with those guys. I don't think that's like a season long problem.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already happening with Tatum. Well, it's been happening, but yeah. This should be every night, guys. 9, 10, 11 attempts at least, and
they got everything they wanted on tonight. They got to the line, they got points in the paint, and then they got their 40 plus threes. Like Joe's got to like almost everything that he got out of this offensively. And again, the shots that weren't falling in the first quarter, fell in the second, were falling late. I think the frustration was just simply on the defensive end of things. The way they started the game, and Joe just didn't like. What was it? Was it that he called that timeout at 11-4 when Garland when they miscommunicated on a switch, and Garland got a baseline layup there off an inbound, and Joe was like, "Give me a fucking break there," So
he was dancing all over the place, man.
He was hot. I like Joe tonight.
Scrappy Joe's good to see.
I like this version of Joe.
Well, I was talking about Garland, but
Well, the other thing too, you got to keep in mind too, it speaks to their defense. They gave up 9 fast break points in the first quarter. Rest of the game, 0. That's, and this Cleveland team clearly, they want to get out and score in transition. Garland is I didn't realize how fast that dude was until you're watching him in person. My goodness.
Me and Sherrod were like, yeah.
He's got ridiculous, and I knew he was fast, but damn.
Spinning all over the place.
If he were a little bit taller, like 6'3", 6'4", he'd probably average 30 in this league.
Damn.
Easy. Because you can't guard him. And his mid-range game is tight. And that he's going to be a problem going forward.
Does he give you Kyrie vibes?
he doesn't have Kyrie's handle. He's faster than Kyrie.
He's fast as
but not
hell,
the
though.
handle, right? Yeah.
He doesn't have Kyrie.
No one alive has ever had Kyrie's handle. I don't think, so.
You listen. Kyrie's. I mean, he's like the NBA version of the Harlem Globetrotters with the handle, doing stuff that you should not be able to do. Kyrie does. Kyrie does it on a regular basis. I mean,
watching those 2 seasons, man, it really was like he had the ball on a string. It was insane.
He should. I mean, he breaks more ankles than anyone in the NBA with that handle. I don't care how good you are defensively. He's snapping those ankles at some point.
I feel like Kyrie's been really quiet this year. I haven't really.
He was hurt a little bit as well.
He just got hurt, Jimmy. Jeez.
Yeah. Well,
That might impact his flapping the gums a little bit.
But, no, but he has been not.
Mavericks PR probably, But
yeah.
It's also like you're just. I don't know.
I think he's just done with it all. Just like I'm just gonna play.
He's just done with it all.
It's about time.
He's a family man now. Maybe that has something to do with it.
I'll buy that.
He was.
I won't spend much on that, but I'll buy it.
He was posting pics and whatnot. Oh, he looks happy. Good for him.
What happened to? Does Bobby work for us?
Who?
Yeah, he's definitely waiting for Tatum.
Jeez Louise.
I thought Tatum already.
Tatum's gone. He's gone.
Yeah, I thought Tatum already talked.
Oh, he's chilling with Cornette then. My bad.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Don't put that out there.
Josue just throwing shit, as Josue says on the floor. Don't put that out there. Like you said, okay, Josue, it's just us. I'm going to tell anyway.
Off the record, everyone watching.
Yeah. I mean, I'm waiting for Bobby. We're waiting on one more thing we want to talk about, so I'm going to filibuster for a little bit longer. But overall, good win. I don't know what else. Like, I mean, really good win because you
came the Zion stuff.
I want to hit that in a minute, Jimmy. Came out flat as hell. Turned it all around. Got to the free throw line, which I know is a big emphasis for Joe as well. Moved it, got the open shots. Solid win. And again, Cleveland was hitting too. So this was a good one. We'll see what happens. They play again in 2 nights on Thursday. Friday is who? Is it Orlando?
I think it's Orlando Friday.
Yeah.
And then who we got on Sunday?
Orlando again.
It's 2 and 2.
Double.
Yeah.
Double.
Wow. Those are tough for Boston, man.
Yeah. That Orlando one. I think that's going to be a great 2-game set.
Yeah. Agreed.
Because they better come out fired up because that team embarrassed the hell out of them. And then Orlando was having a number.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bobby, I have a question for you.
Bobby Manning.
Bobby.
What up, Bobby?
Bobby, what is a potential assist? What needs to happen for an assist to be an assist?
We need to put the timer on.
Yo, you heard me? Shit. Fuck.
Josue's that kid when the question's asked, like, ooh, me.
Freaking Bobby heard me. Joe Mazzulla 100% heard me.
Oh, yeah. You weren't subtle, Josue. But
yo, I can't help it, man. I turned
make
into
the
a
basket.
student.
Is it make the basket?
I turned into nobody answered it, man. I had to jump in there.
It showed you were paying.
Do we have the sound?
Bobby
answered it. Hear it? We got to see if we can hear it.
Criticism recently for the 0 assists in back-to-back games. How much do you assess his play by the assist total? Like, does that kind
of? It's one of the most misleading stats of all time. You know why?
Why is that?
You know what has to happen for you to get an assist?
Made basket.
Yeah. So what we look at are potential assists. And so to me, it's one of the most misleading things to say a guy didn't get an assist. That doesn't mean he didn't pass. It doesn't mean he didn't make the right read. It just meant on his potential assist opportunities, those shots didn't go in. And I think that's what's important for our guys, what success looks like. Jaylen averaged like 5.5 potential assists in those 2 games. And in reality, we don't need him to average more potential assists. We need him to score. We need to put him in position to where he can get out in transition and run. He can get those easy baskets. He can get inside the paint. And so I make sure I talk to them about, like, 43 is whatever it was and 0 assists, but here are your potential assists, and here are the 2 or 3 possessions where you may have been able to take another play. But for this team, it's important that success isn't defined by stuff like that because it's misleading and it's not fair to them. And that's where tonight, for Jaylen, he's not going to get the credit for the couple of the big plays that he'll make. And for Jason, no one's going to be like, 25, 10, and 10. Like, to me, how are we not talking about that first? of his ability to dominate both ends of the floor and like be a playmaker for everybody, and like for his presence and his ability to make all his teammates better. Like that stuff is more important than like a stat line, and we have to understand that.
So Bobby blocked me. Word.
I could kind of think
you could hear it. Yeah, the bass coming through.
Mumbling. Yeah.
It was the bass. Overlapping Bobby's answer.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear it.
Josue didn't even give you a damn chance to answer.
He was on it.
What do you think? I'm gonna put my hand out? I'm not literally turning into a student, Sherrod. It just came out. It was a reflex.
So 3 things. One, obviously the post was silly. Like it just 0 assists, and it's just like the left hand thing with him. Like it's silly. But I also don't like the potential assists. We've talked about this forever, John. It was one of our first segments on the show ever. I feel like it was like, ooh, Tatum has 9 potential assists a game.
We made fun of it, remember?
Yeah.
We made fun of it. That was the segment.
I wrote it in my diary that night. I said Bobby made a really funny joke last night.
He's not wrong in theory, but like it's also like it's not always. It's right. It's the right read theoretically, but it's also not like it's not always a good accomplishment. Anytime you pass to anyone, like if you pass to Luke Cornett at the 3-point line and he takes a 3 and misses, it's a potential assist, but also it was Luke Cornett at the 3-point line. So like it doesn't factor in everything. It was like, yeah, a basket could have been scored there. So like it's quality of shot that you create or that you set up for all of those things. There's more to it than just that stat too. So in a vacuum, it doesn't necessarily help you. And also when it all comes out in the wash, chances are all of your potential assists will be somewhere in line with your overall assists and everybody else's potential assists, because over a long enough timeline, you're going to have the good fortune of
we have
passes getting knocked down and sometimes not, so like I he's right in theory.
John,
the pass needs to be a good pass.
He's right in theory.
Exactly. But yeah, John, exactly.
You make the perfect play and the guy smokes it. What are you going to do there? You made the right play. Like
if you make a crappy pass and he smokes his.
Yeah, if you pass it to
that's
him,
what's supposed to happen if you make a bad pass.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the way I see it is, it's a terrific tool for a coach to implement in practice, and
that's what I was going to go with. Yeah,
to get the guys going, not only get them going, but just to pinpoint the opportunities that they
pass. Go ahead, Bobby.
To make them feel good.
It doesn't translate the same way when you tell the reporters about the outcome of a game. I just don't think it does. But
we don't want to hear it often, and luckily he does seem to keep it internal. Jason Tatum was just talking about how they have those discussions a lot. Where they want their potential assists at. Seems like these are conversations that they have, and it's something that Joe utilizes. Josue just said right there as a tool, coaching wise, make them feel good about themselves. Maybe with Jaylen stewing over that stupid post, go to him and say, all right, you got 5.5 potential assists or whatever. So I get that. I'm glad though that at the end of that statement there, he said we don't need Jaylen to be a big assist guy. We need him to be a scorer, and when the extra pass is available, make it, and we'll hit on that. So finally, like the one thing that frustrates me with Joe sometimes is that he's not critical with these guys, doesn't point out things to improve upon, because we know that these are the weak points in these guys' games, regardless of the assist totals. And that's why the post is stupid, because as you've talked about, John, he could have 10 assists and we still kind of know where the playmaking's at from game to game. It's not you had 0 assists, you stink, 10 assists, you're great. Like we know where it's settling down. We know where the numbers are over a long period of time. And we know generally what their weaknesses have been. And they had low points in this game. Jaylen trying to dribble fast into the half court, loses the ball, just throwing it away to a guy.
It's going to happen.
Jason over dribbling against the guy, loses it. So those are the things you look at more than an assist, obviously. You just watch the game, as Jaylen said this morning, and you get a good feel for it.
Let me ask you this. Part of what Jaylen said earlier today, so this is interesting because, Jaylen, part of what he'd said in recent, might have been in today's interview.
This morning,
when did he say
yeah.
But was it? When did he say? I think I'm playing the best.
Oh, that was last Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
It was last week. I think I'm playing the best basketball of my career.
With the Athletic, right?
Where he'd said that. Do you guys agree?
He's close.
I thought he was better last year at this point.
Because he was. I mean, off for 15, 20 games or so, but I've liked him better lately. But I mean, he was struggling to figure it out for a bit to start the year there. But what do you guys think? Is he like, which aspects are what about his game right now would lead one to believe he's better all around than he has been? Which parts of it? Because I actually liked him tonight. And I like some of the quicker decisions and the sharper, he
had the big pass to Tatum for 3 late.
Yeah,
the bully ball part of his game is he's going bully ball more now than I think he's done in the past, which is a smart play. Get easy buckets in a half court set.
Yeah, and that's important against this team, right? The Allens, and if Moby was out there, so he's aggressive, right? He's finding his opportunities and he's being assertive in them, and he's not shooting as efficiently as he had in recent years. But I'm sure part of that's the flow up and down of opportunities from game to game. And we talked about how this was going to be most challenging for him, adjusting to this offense. The fact that we're 20 games in and he's had this many strong games, there was another conversation post-game tonight that the stats are going to be down for all these guys. They're not going to be individually where they want to be. But if they're racking off wins, they're doing something right. I feel like his defense has been pretty strong. The turnovers are down overall. He had 3 tonight, entered with 2.5 a game. Part of that's less ball time, but again, that's playing your role on this team. And I feel like he's done a solid job over the last 2 years doing that.
Right.
Like
and lately,
some nights it's just going to be him standing in the corner spacing. But in this one, he was able to find the opportunities to attack inside and cut. I love that first quarter cut he had at the very end off Drew Holiday for the second chance point. And then, as I said, the assist late to Tatum. Good decision, good screen by White. I'm starting to notice him screening a little bit more too, Brown.
But wouldn't you figure, like, from an efficiency standpoint, everyone's efficiencies should be up this year because there's more. The idea behind bringing in more people that would, draw attention to themselves would be more open space, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and three's weird. I mean,
more ability to operate, but yeah. So it would be more open looks, fewer clogged lanes, more ability to be able to kind of do. I thought Brown's attempts would come down, and they have a little, but the efficiency would go back up. Because same thing with Tatum, that he'd score close to the same, but on fewer attempts, just because he would have, he wouldn't get blitzed every single time he got the ball.
Right. And part of that's making the right reads out of these, which they don't always do consistently. And that's probably still the biggest challenge for this team. But fortunately, they are in the most important stretches making them. Again tonight, the guy who's benefiting most is Porzingis, right? Because he's getting the mismatches often, and they're finding him often, and he's been the most efficient outside of his three-point shooting slump, which doesn't make a ton of sense, nor does it with Tatum or Brown when it happens. But guys just going flows, I guess, from there. Inside the arc, around the basket, I feel like they've all been super sharp and efficient.
This is Jake, first to the floor. These guys are coming up after, so you want to check them out. Terrific podcast.
They're up after?
Jake and Ben both in the chat here. I agree with this 100%. The process better, but the shots do need to fall in order for him to kind of, actualize his full potential there.
Well, that's the difference. And I also feel like last year, like Bobby said, you would get those handful of games where it's just like, wait, where was Jaylen in that second half? Where he was just sort of disappeared to the corner. And if it was 3 seconds left on the shot clock, he'd get a look his way. But now you don't see that as often. It's very rare. I feel like you may see it in a quarter here or there, especially in the beginning of the season. But over the last week or so, I've seen a difference in Jaylen for sure. I don't know if it's better than last year though. But he's doing different things, and you gotta figure that this is gonna be that year where by the end of it, when he puts it all together, we'll be able to say, hey, that was Jaylen's best season. And I feel like we say that almost every single year, so that's a great thing.
I don't think it's going to matter because it's going to be hard for him to be better than last year. I mean, he's the second option last year.
Well, I don't mean like putting his numbers.
Don't matter. It's everything else.
Right.
Can he do it right? Can he do it like? Can everything else, like turnovers, come down? That's good, because what does that mean? He feels less pressure to have to do it all himself, particularly some of those times when he's, when Tatum's off the floor.
That's the area where he really needs to improve, right?
And so, you
those
want to see
numbers are
more.
Worse.
You want to see more of those lineups, I mean, the plus minus and the on off still aren't great. You want to see him be able to thrive when Tatum's not on the floor as well. But because of the presence of Tatum and White and Holiday and Porzingis and playing with that unit, oftentimes with 3 of those guys, if not 4 at a time, you just figured that everybody would just have a little bit more room to operate. And again, over the course of time, those shooting percentages may go up and up and up. But he's not knocking down. He's definitely. If he was knocking down more shots, I don't think anybody would be having any of these conversations.
It's our conversation with the 3. Are these guys good enough to be taking as many threes as they are? Brown's still bafflingly struggling from out there. Tatum, another bad night from out there. Porzingis started so hot, but then down to 32% before the injury. I don't get it. And I think it's tough for those guys to comprehend too sometimes, the sways that they go in from outside. But I feel like inside the arc, around the basket, all 3 of those guys have been rock solid.
I mean,
the one guy
Tatum's
that's
settled in exactly where he is. Tatum at this point you have to look at the first few years as more the anomaly and recognize that volume shooting Tatum, is a 35% 3-point shooter. And that's just where he's been. The Brown stuff is weird because I thought he was going to be 40 for life. Just the way he finally got that. He got that stroke the way looking the way he wanted. I thought he would just be friggin' just burying corner threes and I don't know. So yeah, it's not where you want it to be.
Well, what's most important,
and it's down 2 years, it's down 3 years in a row for him as well. Kind of settling in. As well into that 35-34 range, and which is not great. That's more of like a team philosophy than it is an individual issue.
And this game again, I mean, where they finished from 3 over 40, the first quarter they're not going down, and it's like to go down 15, they're really struggling on that end. So those started falling.
What's going on?
Shots fired.
Shots fired.
Shots started firing.
Get down, Josue.
There's a game on Thursday. What's going on out there?
This team's 8-4 now in crunch time, which is my favorite takeaway from this game.
This was another great fourth quarter. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how Mazzulla was like, "What's the record again?" You didn't know.
6 straight free throws for Porzingis. As I said, the Brown to Tatum 3. That's a 9-0 run right there, and that's pretty much the ball game. Good stops on the other end. Porzingis getting stops, going out and guarding the perimeter. A little bit of talk from Tatum after the game that what they were doing defensively wasn't working, so they switched it up. And you saw it. Garland was tearing them up. Mitchell started hitting some threes there in the third. And they switched and got Porzingis out guarding on the perimeter a bit. And among all the surprises with this guy, I just continue to be blown away by him in pretty much every single way.
Who?
He can get out. Porzingis. He can get out and guard a little bit at the 3-point line, which I did not expect to see. And that was a big part of tonight's win again.
Oh yeah, man, that's a big part of. To me, that's a big part of what makes his defense when it's at its best is the fact that you can switch anyone and it doesn't really matter, especially someone like Jrue Holiday who can play the 4 or 5 guard and B like he did in the beginning of the season. Guys averaging 7.4 rebounds this season.
I mean, at this point, are we ready to say that if he's healthy, they're winning it all? If he's not, they're not. Like, is it going to be as simple as that for this team?
I'm not ready to say anything.
No.
Yeah, I don't know, man, because you don't know.
I'm not ready.
It's still a long road, especially.
I'll say if he's not there,
postseason.
I'll say that if he's not there, not. I will agree to that.
I think losing a starter makes it hard. It's hard to think that they're not the significant favorites if everybody's healthy. I think we've seen it from moment one and all the way to tonight. It's what we talked about is you can have guys have flat out crap games or just disappear for different segments of time. You can have flat first quarters. You can have crap third quarters. And when you have all of those guys healthy, it's hard to lose games. It's really hard to lose games when the starters are. What is the record when all six play?
11-1, I think. No, 12-1 now. Right?
I don't know.
I saw that recently. Yeah, it's 12-1 now.
That sounds
It's
right.
a hard team to beat.
Wait,
man.
all 6 or all 5? I'm thinking of the starting 5, I believe.
Okay, that's fine. I just kind of threw
Something
Horford
like
in
that.
there.
They have 14. They have 14 games together.
Real quick, we're gonna move on to one
starting
last topic
still
Jimmy
must have
wants
been
to
the
talk
6.
about. But real quick, here's Tatum talking about sacrifice. And let me make sure I have this right. Yeah, talking about sacrificing and the sacrifice everyone needs to make to kind of keep them going as
I like
as
this
top
answer
dog
a lot.
here.
Yeah, Joe often challenges me to just dominate the game, right? And I understand the dynamic of our team and just how talented we are offensively. And, myself, from JB, D. White, KP, Drew, Al, everybody has to sacrifice. I'm certain that, none of us are averaging career highs in points, right? They all have taken a dip, but it's for the better of the team. Our success as a unit is more important, and we understand that. We know what the ultimate goal is, and human nature plays a part. It's not easy, right? You're accustomed to playing a certain way, scoring a certain amount of points per game, and you kind of have to empathize for every guy, right? That is not easy, but we're winning, and we know we're going to need everybody, to achieve our ultimate goal. So it is true. Success looks different every night for each guy, but everybody's contributing at a high rate, and we're winning. We got we're the best team in the league, so winning takes care of everything.
He's right. He's right. I mean, there's no, you have to have great sacrifice to have great success. And you start looking at all the guys that are part of their core. That's exactly what they do. You go back. I mean, hell, the last team that we saw in Celtics team to win a championship, that 08 squad, KG, Paul, Ray, they all made significant sacrifices statistically because they knew that would bring about the greater good and the goal, which was to win a championship. So
KG got so into it that he started passing up too many shots, and Doc was like,
yeah.
"Nah, man, you gotta take that 3.
But
though.
they
You gotta take
got-
Forgot about that.
from top of the key." Yeah,
But they got addicted to that. How many of them said back then? I'm just trying to remember. Like, how many of them said back then it was hard? Like, it's hard to not score all the time and to this and that. Like, is it hard? Is it hard to win?
I think of those guys, I think it was probably harder for Paul
It was the
than
hardest
anyone
for-
else.
But Paul embraced it because he was like, "This is
He's got
great.
tired
I
of
might get a
losing.
ring."
Yeah.
Ray
Yeah.
is the one that struggled the most with it
Yeah.
because he had to change everything.
Right.
And also,
yeah,
you said,
yeah. That's a
John.
good point, John. People forget Ray was like top 4 in scoring going into that season, so he came from Seattle averaging like 29 points that
Ray
year.
was
so.
an absolute god.
He was
Yeah.
like a better version of Bradley Beal.
Again,
Seattle, if Seattle doesn't press the
And
reset
he
button,
never passed
all of a
it
sudden
either.
he doesn't go anywhere. Like that was huge.
And John, you said it. Jaylen could be the Ray in this dynamic.
Yeah, it just has to alter the game a little bit.
He just
But
needs
yeah,
to hit
I
all
don't
the
think
threes.
I don't know why it's hard. I think that's like understood. Like we've always said that about Tatum and Brown. Like their evolution is going to be when they realize that they're better scoring less.
But you know what, John?
It's just different.
It
Yeah.
shouldn't be like hard to score less because it should just be
They're-
understood that like
See,
the points, me getting 30 isn't why, like that's not going to help us win.
But that's how they're wired.
But
John.
because they didn't have a roster like
Bobby's
this.
point. Yeah.
That's the thing. We didn't have a roster like this.
They're
Not
wired
even
that
close.
way. They're younger players. They've got big money coming in. Tatum's got a new contract coming up. They want to prove that they can score with the best of them. When Pierce, KG, and Ray Allen were at the point that they were in their careers, they already proved everything except winning a championship. And they were later on in their careers, and they just had immediate success. So yeah, it was great. I mean, they just jumped right out of the gates, and they never looked back. So they didn't have a
And
chance.
if we're talking
they didn't have a
money,
chance to
right.
be down on their
Well,
roles.
And the sacrifice that you're talking about, that those guys made and these guys are trying to make, it goes against what they're muscle memory is as a player. They know that
Yeah.
they've been guys who could get buckets all their lives, and now all of a sudden I've got to figure out how to do less of that but still be impactful and not be deferential out there. That's the challenge. I don't think the challenge is them wanting to do it. I think it's figuring out, how does this look when I've got 4 or 5 other guys out here who can get buckets just like me? How are we going to make this work where we're doing less because it brings about the greater good?
That's it.
And on these contracts, Jimmy.
Yeah.
What's that?
Ubuntu.
And on these contracts, Jimmy, that they've effectively already earned, they're making all the money they need.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's what you're looking to earn effectively from the stats, from the production, from the scoring,
Right.
and they've already done that.
Yeah.
So they've moved past that stage, fortunately, and that's not.
But
a
they got to
concern.
get there.
The
I think
bar
here's the
always
thing. I don't
gets
care about Young.
It always goes.
They got to get there now because this is kind of your window. Like,
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
problem is
Yeah, man.
when
I'm
you're-
glad you said that, John.
That's what, and again, I get it. Like, KG came in as a 19-year-old, obviously. Like, but like, you know, Paul Pierce was in his 10th year when he made the sacrifice. Brown is in his 8th year. It's not ridiculous.
Right.
I know the age was different, but again,
Right.
like, you've been in the league now 7 and 8 years, and you got to recognize, after having gotten to a finals
Way more success than
once-
Paul did. Yeah.
yeah,
that's
but
true.
yeah, having gotten to a finals once and a bunch of Eastern Conference finals, you got to recognize that, like, I got to lock one of these down because this could be fleeting. And, like, I don't know if I'm going to get there. And, like, you get into a point where who knows what happens with the cap and the re-signing and, you know, different people. You know, 2 years from now, you could have a totally different team, or you might have to be in a, not a rebuild, but an on-the-fly retool to kind of, you know, build a roster around the stars
Man.
again. And that's where you're probably going to be in 3 years. So, like, this is your window. Like, get serious now, you know? Like, I don't care that it's, well, when they're 30, they'll figure it out. When they're 30, they might be looking around at, like, you know, Strus, you know, as their starting point guard and be like, you know, like,
That's not going to work.
yeah. So, yeah, I mean, again,
kill it.
they're right. Like, you usually do hit that a little later. And honestly, sometimes you usually hit that later when you haven't had any taste of winning or even come close.
Right.
And you're like, man, I'll do anything for this. So you developing that hunger sometimes takes a little bit more time and a little bit more, like, futility. It's almost bad that they've had this much success because you get to the point where you're like, it's like any Patriots fan right now. It's like, we play in the Super Bowl every other year, right? You're like, well, not always, you know. So
Right. And plus, John, we don't
the Killers-
we never see that in the NBA. Like, name a team or a core that's stuck together for.
it was Golden State for that. And
Yeah, but they
adding
won.
Durant. Yeah.
Right. You got to win. Like, teams don't.
You got to win.
Cores don't stay together to lose for 10 years in a row. Like,
No.
that's not what that doesn't work.
That
you
makes
know?
you the Clippers.
And if anything, one of those players is usually, if you look back at the NBA, is going to say, "Hey, I want to get the F out of here." Like, that's just what happens. And I'm not saying that, you know, Jalen's going to be that guy or Tatum's going to be that guy, but in 2 to 3 years, one of them might be. I mean, that's what the history has told us, and that's going to be
You know who it is?
that's going to be the
Josue?
10-year mark where they've been leading
Which
this
is
team
a-
for 10 years.
Which is a long time in this day and age for not only two players to play together on the same team, but one guy to stay in the same team. That's
Right.
becoming a long time. So
Right.
it's just the reality of the situation. This window, we mentioned it earlier in the show. Brad
Oh
Stevens-
yeah, they did. Yeah, that's a good point. Malone and talk to Malone. Yeah, that's the outlier, I guess. Sorry, Jimmy. Go ahead.
No, that's good. I was going to say, Brad Stevens is aware of the window. This is why they bulked up this team right now. They know that what they have to do over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
So,
Facts, my dog.
thank you, Sherrod.
He was listening, Jimmy. Don't worry.
To that point, man, I wish they locked up Derek White.
That's
What do you
going to
mean?
go back to bite him in the yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, you
I mean,
remember
if you're him,
He's
you
gonna
remember-
earn himself.
Hey.
Earn himself a payday.
You remember
Derek
that
White's-
former Celtic who talked about the Brinks truck being backed up? That's
Uh,
going to be the Derek White story. Because
Yeah, he
He's-
should go to free agency.
Damn,
oh
Sherrod.
my goodness,
That's
yeah.
Yeah. Last
Still
thing,
too soon.
Last thing that Jimmy's
Derek White's going to be able to go to Dr. Leonard after his new deal, bro.
yeah.
He's good to go.
I knew there was a hair joke in there somewhere. I think someone's gonna
Maybe.
get this.
Good to
Last
go.
thing we wanted to talk about
He's
because
been perfect.
Jimmy's been dying to talk about it.
Yeah, why are you obsessed with this?
Thank
There's
God,
our
now
little-
we-
Oh, actually,
now-
yeah, good
now I
point.
can
Let's
go
talk
to
about
bed.
There's our little Celtics,
Oh, boy.
our Cedric
We got the
Maxwell
clip.
logo. Yeah, I got the clip.
By the way, let's plug Josue's.
Does he have the clip?
Yeah, Cedric Maxwell show with Josue. Josue, this is your new buddy, Stephen A. This is the clip from your new buddy, Stephen A. Smith.
Could be the beginning of a. I don't know, man. What are you trying to say, Jimmy?
You guys had a good thing going on in your podcast.
Yeah, man. I had a lot of fun. It was incredible. It was a great episode. I just wanted to get to a couple of other topics, but maybe we'll say that for another time. But yeah, man, we had a really good time.
Topics?
Celtics NBA ish. Yeah, I mean the whole Ime and LeBron thing, but that's all right.
Kind of decided what he was going to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where, like, towards the end, Max started to wrap things up, and I'm just like, all right. But you know what? It came out great, man. We tackled a lot of topics that I wanted to discuss. So
nice,
yeah.
That was great.
We'll be back.
Let's hear from,
including this one.
Let's hear from, and again, Stephen A. He knows he's a brand, and he knows what he says is trademarked. So he says the same thing on every show or every appearance he gets.
Baby.
We got it first. That's what's up.
Stick to the script. And here he is talking about Zion and his belly.
The negative part about that was the embarrassing performance of the New Orleans Pelicans led by Zion. I mean, you're supposed to be the face of this franchise, and you roll into the play-in, and you get in the postseason, rather, play-in tournament, and you get trounced by 44 points. It was supposed to be your coming out party. It was supposed to be your stage where you said, I'm the young gun. I'm that new dude. But I ain't going to lie to you. He walked to the free throw line. Yo, fellas, I saw a belly. I saw a belly. A belly. You know, and we doing our homework, and we're hearing from people, and we're asking people, what the hell is he eating? And you know what they're saying? The table. Like the table.
Oh, man.
They ain't even giving you meals.
I was going to ask you, did he lose to Vegas?
He's eating the table. And when you see that, yo, man, that's a problem, bro. That's a problem, fellas. You can't have that, man.
Yeah, I'm laughing and hearing my own laugh as I'm laughing out loud. That was funny.
Oh my god, that's such an all-time clip. I can't get enough of that.
What did he say?
Table.
He said, guys.
Table.
He said, fellas, I saw a belly. Like, he sounded so concerned. so concerned. That was great, man. Right, like it's a secret.
Yeah, like he was the only one.
Oh man, no! Big shout out to.
Are we ever gonna?
Big shout out to Stephen A. Smith, man. That was great.
We ever gonna see this guy play in Boston? I mean, he's missed the last 2 games here. All the injuries, all the weight concerns.
And John, if he does, I hope they don't tell him about the North End. This guy's gonna be carted out of there after a night at Brico.
Yeah.
Stop it,
John.
There's a particular restaurant owner I'm sure is going to try to reach out. So you better stay away from the North End.
There was a kid. I think a kid in the chat earlier. He kept asking us. He's coming to Boston with his girlfriend. Where should he go? Go to the North End and just pick a spot. But
anyway,
yeah, and hopefully Zion doesn't take that advice, because this guy, and I've been saying it for a couple of years. I mean, everyone's been saying it. This guy is going to eat himself out of the league. It's like I'll never forget. He did a commercial. It was like a Mountain Dew commercial.
Oh, on the couch
with the Mountain Dew and the chips.
Chips, and it was almost like he took that role so professionally that he's method acting like the whole thing, like for the next 2 years. He's like, we get it. You like one.
They gave him a lot of it. Yeah.
Yes. What'd they do? Would they just pay him with like a lifetime supply of Mountain Dew and Doritos? Because that's what it looks like.
I gotta go at you and John though, Jimmy, because when we had this conversation 3 years ago, you guys said it was obvious that you'd take Zion and Ingram over Tatum and Brown, and here we are 3 years later. New Orleans still hasn't played in the playoffs.
Okay, but we went
Here
out.
we go.
We did this one. We've been over this already.
Damn.
There's not.
I just want an apology, Cam.
There's not a chance. There is not a
North End.
Go back and read anything during Zion's second year, the one that he played full, when you got a glimpse of what he was, and tell me where he was ranked by every person who watches and talks about the NBA, and it was significantly higher than Tatum. It didn't mean Tatum was bad. Zion was one of one, potentially. Everybody knew that there were potential issues with injuries.
31 and 41.
But you can't. 3 years later, when he's missed an entire season with injuries and now weighs 400 pounds, you can't take a victory lap. 3 years at that moment in time, the entire NBA was like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like Zion in my life before.
But that year, John, they went 10.
And then he discovered ring dings.
You're talking about the individual talent, and Zion was on another planet for what he was doing. He was physical freak and unstoppable, and he could move and he could pass and he could he was an unstoppable force, and it was just the beginning. If he continued on that trajectory, who knows what he would be. But sadly, he's here now, which is a bummer, because look at that 2019 draft. Oh my God, between him and Morant what happened to these guys?
Yeah.
Only carbs can stop him.
Morant, that's an whole other story. Zion, this guy did have it all. I mean, he was just a beast. He's just a big dude, athletic as hell, could pass it. Felt like he had a good
350-pound Zion's dropping 30-something points right now. Imagine this guy gets himself right.
That was the worst Celtics team ever, and they still made the playoffs.
Listen, at the time, we said the debate was Zion and Ingram or Brown and Tatum. That was the debate that we had 3 years ago. And you can't argue that it's gone in the wrong direction for New Orleans right now, because Zion has discovered gumbo, I guess.
There wasn't a hot take 3 years ago.
It wasn't a hot take.
Most people,
we debated pretty intensely.
But I'm saying, you were taking the homer take, and everybody else was Team Zion. In the world, Zion was at that moment in time considered to be a top 3 NBA commodity. There were people were throwing around, how many people would you trade the number 1 pick for? And it was 2. I think you're forgetting what people thought of his ability and potential at that time. It just went south.
It went
brutal.
It went south.
Basically he came an athletic Charles Barkley, which is kind of scary.
Yeah. That's a good way.
That was his game.
He had a lot of problems from the jump, injuries especially. He tore the meniscus.
But some of that was because he was overweight.
Kept tearing up his sneakers. Remember that?
Well, he's too damn
when
big.
He blocked the sneakers in Duke. Yeah,
that was crazy.
He showed up opening day that next year with a broken foot, out of nowhere. I don't have much hope left here. I don't.
I mean, listen. He
looks like a different guy. No defense, no burst. He used to float through the air. You look back at who he was at Duke, it's gone.
Pelicans fans
completely gone.
Pelicans fans aren't gonna like this, if there are any Pelicans fans watching. But
they have a good team.
It's gonna come
down.
They
really do.
It's probably for Zion. It's probably gonna come down to change of scenery. Really, I mean, he needs an extreme change of surroundings. It's like the tipping point. You got to find it.
A veteran.
What do you think he's losing to Bourbon Street? I don't know.
I think he is. I think rest in peace. He's losing to Bourbon Street, Jose. I really do. He needs to go to Utah or someplace where the food probably sucks, and get his body back in shape, and focus on basketball.
Miami.
Focus on basketball.
Oh my God, Miami would run him into the ground.
I don't know, Jimmy. Those demons might chase him. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's a geography thing. I think it's just a discipline.
I think it's a discipline and being a millionaire thing.
I think
it's tough.
But sometimes you just need a fresh start. I'm not saying it's a New Orleans thing. I'm just saying it's just
right. But I just feel like this is a good situation for him. If it was a losing situation, or if you felt like it was a roster where it's man, he can't really thrive. It's well, of course he's spending too much time doing this or whatever things that he shouldn't be doing or overeating. Maybe he's not in tune with the rest of the team. But if that was the case, I would say that. But I don't know. I feel like this is a great situation for him. And he has guys that can obviously help him out. I mean, when these two combine for 30 plus, Brandon Ingram, you got shooters, you got
Oh, you mean talent?
CJ McCollum,
CJ McCollum,
Jones.
Yeah,
I'm talking about like, does he have anybody?
Their team's
right,
stacked.
Does he have the right people around him that's gonna allow him to be like his full
They've
potential?
tried, Jimmy.
Yeah, that's probably.
I know that's what I'm saying. But it's not working. So like something's gonna change.
I'm sure he's got something in his contract, but he's just paying that fee or that fine. It's like what Big Baby did in Boston. They slapped the thing on his contract, a clause on his contract that if he wasn't under a certain weight, he had to pay the fine. He just said, "All right, well, I'll just I'll pay in advance," pretty much, and he was okay with it.
Yeah.
Would you?
I mean, I know not to bring up Big Baby, but I'm just thinking of other people who've been in some
got bigger
situations.
issues now than his weight.
Yeah, that's true. And someone mentioned Jared Sullinger in the comment section, but that was a guy who a lot of people believe if he was able to maintain his physique,
great example.
If he maintained his physique, he'd have a play. He'd still be in the league. I mean, this guy was a 10, 11 rebounds a night, easy. You know, like in his sleep.
Booty.
Yeah, he used to talk about that all the time. A little weird, but yeah, he used to bring that up. And look what happened. I mean, this can happen to anyone. You know.
Would you trade for him?
He ate the table.
For Zion? Are you serious?
You can't.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't.
How would you trade for him?
Just in a vacuum.
No, this team is all set.
In a vacuum. I don't think he'd fit in one, to be completely honest, Bobby.
Jimmy's got fat jokes for days.
Damn.
I knew Jimmy was going to go.
I didn't see that coming.
All I can think of right now.
No,
I'm not paying for him unless he drops 40.
Jimmy, are you working your comedy set? You doing a little comedy on the side too?
He's going to have to drop 40 pounds, and then we'll trade for him. But I'm not taking on any more cargo at this point. Hey.
Yeah, gotta consider that.
That's it. That's facts, man. You can't trust him.
That's
it comes
facts,
down to trust. Man. That's a big risk. That's a big risk right now. You got to prove to me that you can play a full season. Put your health first. Put the team first.
He looks bad out there too. He really does.
Yeah,
he's playing poorly.
Listen, the in-season tournament was great for a lot of things, including like highlighting players who might not be in the national spotlight enough. Like Halliburton, Zion probably hasn't been in the spotlight a lot because he hasn't been playing. But it did wonders for Halliburton, and it went the opposite direction for Zion. Maybe that's what Zion
he could have
needed.
dodged that. Huh?
Maybe that's what Zion needed. Maybe he needs to be ripped by Stephen A. Like Stephen A. ripped some of these other guys, and maybe he needs, a little tough love. Or
he did have a huge game. Amit pointing that out in the comments there. After that Stephen A. comment, he came out with. Let me pull up the stat line exactly here. He went off.
Too many yes men. Too many yes men around Zion. Enablers, we call them. Too many people.
36
to get to the point of where he is right now, and he needs somebody to actually call him out and hold him responsible.
He's 23. It's 23.
Yeah, that's where you can't
young.
give up on him. But he needs to be held accountable. Somebody needs to be doing that. Same with John Morant.
These years are
let
crucial.
these guys run the show, or else they'll do whatever the hell they want, and they'll eventually get themselves into trouble.
It's crazy too. I don't know for a fact, but there was a lot of rumblings out there last draft that they were trying to move him for a top pick. It didn't seem like Portland was interested. Didn't seem like Charlotte was interested. So you can't get a top 3 pick for him. Might just have to roll with him here and hope for the best.
For this draft class? That doesn't surprise me. Hey, they tried.
Yeah, this last one.
They tried, yeah.
Minus 40 pounds down for JB. Yes, I would do that.
Crazy.
Let's get weird. I'll do it. Minus 40 pounds. That's pretty good. I don't think that's gonna. I don't know if that's.
Is that possible? Yeah, I was gonna say it. 40 pounds.
I mean, it's certainly not happening this year. He needs to go.
I just hope he makes it.
He needs to
I hope he makes
learn
it.
about intermittent fasting and all that.
Yeah, these people in the comment section get me rolling right now. Yeah, Zion's got a lot going on. That's true. It's not just the food.
Comes to Boston.
We're gonna wrap it.
Did you guys catch a Stephen A. almost like he was just like, hey, he's got some other stuff going on, but I ain't gonna get into that. And
We're gonna wrap. Sherrod, you could have left an hour ago. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. Jimmy,
he's just laughing right now. That's why
Jimmy wanted to get in on this stuff. I'll say this about it, like in the whole the body shaming thing of it, you can say somebody needs to get in better shape and not be that harsh about it, which I don't love that the belly and the fake of like straight up stuff. Just say
What's
say what
wrong with
people
the
can
belly?
see.
That's funny.
Just
He
say
saw
it.
belly.
Just say it. Everybody knows
What?
athletes.
Just say what? He's fat.
Everybody knows
That's
athletes need
nicer?
to be in shape. Like Zion's like fighting it right now. Like, sure, yeah, maybe there's bad advice and this and that, but like he's probably like eating disorder or like really, really struggling with this. Like,
Oh, come on. Come on. Eating disorder.
I think this is the kind of guy that can disappear for a couple of months and come back 40 and 50 pounds heavier. You know what I mean? Is like, I think it's a battle. Doesn't mean it's not his job and he's supposed to be in good shape. And like, you either take things seriously or you don't. But like, he's definitely fighting it. But there's a nicer way to say it. That's
fighting all. What? Like a large pizza?
There's a nice way.
Jimmy has no. You got no compassion for this conversation whatsoever.
None. Whatever. Let's
Zero
end
courtesy.
the show. I'm not gonna. John's trying to diagnose him on the show.
There's a nicer
We
way
have
to say
Dr.
it.
John
That's all.
over
You
here.
can just say this guy's got to get in shape. He's
Exactly.
You could say heavy. He's just too heavy for a professional basketball
Yo,
player. His
heavy.
knees and his joints are gonna take a pounding. Like he's too strong and powerful. He
Right.
needs to slim down to be more effective. You can say all those things, but like I saw a belly.
Well, think about that too. How much time he's been hurt. I mean, when you have the injuries he's had, that can knock you back.
There we go.
It's really hard.
Ben has a good point. He should do Ozempic. That's what all the celebs are doing.
I'm
now.
stunned he's not like on 7 injections a day at this point. But anyway.
He'll come
Someone
back.
might be calling him.
We'll come back 50
I
times
saw a bet. Yeah.
Ahmed had a good point in the chat. Good lead-in if we had the sponsor today, but
yeah. Anyway, we're gonna wrap it up because Sherrod's never gonna come on the show again if we do one this long.
yeah, I gotta go to bed.
All
You
right.
gotta get him double paid.
All right.
Go to bed, Jimmy.
Thanks, guys. Good night. Good night, everybody.
Good night,
See you guys
y'all.
later this week.